Okay, I'm going to attempt to share my experience with getting my pacemaker. I had my pacemaker installed. The surgery was September 4th. And I'm about 4 weeks out now. We're coming up on the 4 week anniversary of that event. And I wanted to share my experience. It was different in every way from what I thought it was going to be. I did a lot of research, went on YouTube and looked at videos and listened to other people's experience about what they went through while they were trying to go through this procedure that I recently did. And by all accounts, it just seemed like it was going to be a pretty much non-event, kind of a routine thing, conscious sedation, not much discomfort afterwards, and you'll feel a lot better once it's done. Um, I was diagnosed with sick sinus syndrome and was suffering from lightheadedness, standing up. Would get dizzy. Sometimes would just get lightheaded, just walking around. Just out of the blue would become lightheaded. And so anyway, through having those symptoms for more than a year and finally going to a cardiologist that they actually had me go in and do a cardiac MRI, and that's when they discovered that I had some pulmonary hypertension and this sick sinus syndrome, which is the sinus node in the heart not working quite like it should. So having a pretty low heart rate at night and low oxygen levels at night, that kind of thing. So anyway, going in, getting ready for the surgery on September 4th, it was pretty routine. Just first thing, aside from the long wait from checking in to getting in to make this happen. And turns out the doctor had about 4 of these scheduled that day, and I was the 4th one, the last one of that day. And he was not my cardiologist. My cardiologist referred me to him because my guy didn't have privileges at the hospital that was close to me where this needed to be done. So anyway, my cardiologist had full faith in the guy he referred me to do the implant. And like I said, I'd done a lot of research and felt fairly comfortable about going in to get this done. Well, I checked in, and when they finally got me into the room, and they started the IV, and that was the first thing that raised my eyebrows when the nurse that was putting the IV in seemed to have trouble getting it to flow, and they were going to give me some IV antibiotics, at first I guess a blood draw, and then and she had difficulty even doing the blood draw once she put the IV in. So she did a blood draw, did 2 vials after she drew the blood out with the syringe, and then injected the syringe in a couple of vacutainers to send to the lab. So not too long after that, when I got into the operating room, this was going to be done under conscious sedation. The meds they were going to give me was fentanyl and Versed. And I don't know if I've had that combination of drugs before or not, but what I do know is I've had a lot of surgeries and had 3 spinal surgeries, cervical spine, where they went in through the front here and put metal plates and screws in my cervical spine, and that happened 3 times. And a couple of knee surgeries and shoulder and both eyes and carpal tunnel release on both hands. And anyway, a bunch of surgeries and a lot of different methods of sedation, all the way from, being intubated and fully unconscious to spinal blocks and axillary block, and never had an issue. Colonoscopies, whatever they give you for that, I think they give you propanolol, no issue. And so anyway, I get into the operating room, and the first person to make contact with me in the operating room is the nurse in charge of my sedation. And she's going to inject the antibiotics prior to the procedure. And she had problems with the IV trying to get the antibiotics to flow. So she had me twist my arm and messed with the position of the tube that was, placed in my arm by the nurse when I first got there. And I assume that she got the antibiotics to go, but then there was a nurse on the other side of me, on my right side, that he came over. He was putting pads on me, the precautionary pads. If you have a problem during the procedure, they can, shock you back into sinus rhythm. And anyway, he came over and messed with the IV, and he had problems with it also. And they repositioned the tube in my arm, and they said, "Oh, well, that looks like it's flowing okay." Well, the next thing I know, the doctor's coming in, and they're putting the drape in front of my face so I can't see, and they start this procedure. And man, I was feeling everything, and I felt the scalpel cut into me. I felt the needles when he was putting the needles in, trying to access the vein to run the leads into my heart for this pacemaker. It's beyond description how oh man, how helpless I felt going through that process. It was it was like I had no control over what was going on, and I was in so much pain and feeling all that. I could feel the doctor pushing his fingers into the muscles into my chest, trying to open up the pocket to put the pacemaker in. And I could feel, hear, and smell the I don't know what they call it, the Foley, the thing that cauterizes the veins to stop the bleeding when they're making incisions, and all of this I was feeling, and I was expressing the groaning and in pain, and felt like that I was being ignored. That hey, this is hurting way more than it should, and why? And of course, I couldn't articulate that. I'm sure. Well, I'm honestly not sure of anything. What I know is that I felt everything throughout that entire process. And towards the end of it, when they removed the drape in front of my face, and I could see the monitor, I saw the red lights flashing, and I immediately knew that that I was in AFib. I could see on the monitor, it was flashing red, and that my heart rate was not where it should be. And one of the technicians inside the operating room was readjusting the pad under my right shoulder, and I asked him, I said, "Are you going to shock me?" And his reply was, "Well, you won't know, you won't feel anything." But they had to call an anesthesiologist in to administer propofol to put me out, so that they could indeed shock my heart back into normal sinus rhythm. And that went okay. I mean, I did not feel when they shocked me back into normal sinus rhythm. But everything prior to that, with the fentanyl and the Versed, not sure why that didn't work for me. It was traumatic. It was awful. I just can't. I'm having trouble coming to grips with why that happened to me, and I'm concerned for multiple reasons. One, the batteries in these things only last a certain amount of time, and I 100% hope to outlive at least the first battery in this pacemaker, and which means they'll have to replace that device. And given what I went through when they put that device in, I am terrified at the prospect of having it replaced when that time comes. So 2 days after the procedure, I called the hospital and told them, I talked to an administrator and told them, "Hey, this was my experience. I need to know what happened. Why did this go the way it did?" And they assured me that they would be looking into it. And she did say she would get a hold of somebody and have them contact the doctor and have them call me. And that was the only positive thing out of all of this, was that within a half an hour after I ended that phone call, I did get a call from the doctor who did the procedure, and he did ask me about what my concerns were, and I told him I felt all of that, and I said I felt like you couldn't hear me, or like I was, and he assured me, "Oh, I heard you." And so they were aware that I was going through all of this discomfort and pain through this procedure. And he told me he didn't know why, but that, once they start, they can't stop. So I'm still, full of uncertainty as to why this happened, and doubts as to, what's in store for me if I have to go through this again. I don't want to experience that kind of thing again. And I don't know if, if they're willing to do this procedure under a different type of anesthesia, but that was my experience. And I'm still trying to work my way through that trauma that I experienced. And it's hard to describe what that's like when you feel so helpless and you're in that kind of pain, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you're just waiting for it to all be over. And then also my recovery, which was bizarre to me, but I've had people I know, my grandmother, friends who have had pacemakers put in, and they said they didn't feel a thing when they got it done, and that even through their recovery, they didn't have any issues. Well, even in my recovery, it was painful for almost 3 weeks. I had pain shooting down into my elbow, like a nerve pain, just firing off into my elbow, and it was crazy. And finally, after about 2.5 weeks, the pain and the inflammation and everything, as it calmed down, things started getting better. And so, like I say, I'm about 4 weeks out now. I'm pain-free. I can sleep at night without the Tylenol. Didn't take any pain medications other than the Tylenol through this process. It was a struggle, but I'm on the backside of it, and I do feel like the outcome was positive as far as the pacemaker and the leads are in position. They're working. Right now the pacemaker is set to pace me if I get below 60, and it is definitely doing that. I can see that through my health app on my iWatch and iPhone. So everything's working, and I hope to that this is going to turn out to be a good thing, and down the road I'll hopefully forget the trauma that I went through in getting this done, and it'll be a overall positive benefit for me. But like I say, I'm still thinking down the road, if I have to, if I live through this first battery and have to get another one put in, what is that going to be like? So, your experience may vary, but that was my experience, and so I just wanted to put that out there to let you know what I went through that process. And it's different for everyone, and I wish it would have been better for me, but it is what it is. And so anyway, wanted to share that. Thank you.